This is the Born Ludwig Year One podcast.
Professor Dirk Wiechmann, one of my mentors and now really close friend. Dirk, most people know you from your cases, from orthodontics, from your papers, but almost nobody knows you personally. So today I want to talk about braces, lingual braces, biomechanics, but I also want to understand who you are. Who made you to be Dirk Wiechmann, how you are today? So first question, what kind of child were you? What shaped you early? Family pressure, freedom? Was there a moment where you felt, I want more than this? Who were you as a child? What shaped you?
So I think as a child, I was, believe it or not, I was, okay, I had to go to school afterwards when I was 6 and before, but I was always doing sport all the day. I was running and
Okay.
playing football. And so uh, my childhood, I can only imagine with a ball, playing football, playing ice hockey, playing tennis, going
Wow.
swimming, making athletics. I remember when I was like, oh, I think I was 12 or so. My grandmother asked me, "Dirk, you're never home. What are you doing all the day?" And I said, on Monday I make
Mhm.
football training. Tuesday is tennis, Wednesday it's athleticism, and so on.
Yeah.
And on Saturday we had matches. So I was doing really, really a lot of sports, uh, and this is a very good experience. I think mainly not sports which you do alone, like tennis. No, because when you lose alone. When you win alone. A super
Yeah.
experience is a sport in a team. You're winning alone,
Mhm.
you're winning together, you're losing together with a group, and I think this is extremely helping to build your character.
Like I remember my mom is here today and she always was a bit pushy to say, you have to get better, you have to be on top, like top 10 also in school. I felt a lot of pressure in my childhood. Were you also raised a bit by pressure or more freedom? Came it out of yourself
Eh,
to excel or from the outside?
I think my parents are exactly the post Second World War generation. I have been raised by, I wouldn't say really pressure, but my parents try to understand me. When you want to achieve more, to invest more. You have to deliver
That's a
more.
good expression.
And
Yeah.
my uncle always told me that he has experienced in his life that there is a moment that can take everything away from you, which was for my uncle, which was the war. No, and
Yeah.
but he said everything what you have learned, nobody will ever be able to take away. That's forever. And I was motivated for this. Unfortunately, there were, everybody has his favorite subjects in school. Mine was certainly sport, and then it was mathematics and physics. A strange combination, I must say. And so my parents, they were used to being her son being the best in mathematics and physics and in sport, and they had to accept
Hmm.
in German and philosophy and so on. Her son was not the greatest player, and but I think that's what they accepted, and they were finally, I think they were very, very happy.
Yeah.
I
So
hope.
if we jump a bit to a later stage of your life, why orthodontics? Or what was it the decision, or did you just drift into it? Or is there also maybe something, part or some point of time which almost stopped you going into it? So why orthodontics? And was it drifting or by intention?
No, I was always interested by orthodontics when I made my graduate training, my graduation, and directly
Hmm.
after, when I was had finished my dental degree, I was applying for a place at the orthodontic department in the University of Münster.
Yeah.
The head of department at that time, she said, "Dirk, you're a bit too young. You are just 24, and so you have
Hmm.
to maybe get some experiences." And she asked me, "How many languages do you speak?" And I said, "I
Uh-huh.
only speak two, German and English." And I had Latin at school, which is not very useful in daily life. But I said, my girlfriend's French, no? And she said, she motivated me to learn French. This is what I exactly did. So I think there was a time when French was really my second language. I would say now it's English, and then right after it's French. And so when I was working with a dentist, we had a very good orthodontist which was collaborating with our office. And I asked him if I could spend the Wednesday afternoon, because the dental office was closed, in his practice, look at the orthodontic patients. And after I've been doing this for half a year or even more, he asked me if I would like to work for him like a orthodontist postgraduate student, because the system is a little bit different in Germany. You can make 2 years in a private practice and 1 year at the university. And then I said, yes, why not? That's a good idea, because I always wanted to become an orthodontist. And he said, that's why you're coming on the Wednesday. And I said, exactly.
Exactly.
So this was the way. But the problem is, in Germany, when you plan to become an orthodontist, I have seen so many on the right side and on the left side who have deliberately planned to become an orthodontist. They never managed, because they could not get the 1 year at the university, which is a clear bottleneck in the German education system. Countries, for example, in France, have a national. So if you want to become an orthodontist, you have to make the test. You get the results a few weeks later, and then you know if it works or not. In Germany, the situation is completely different. You have to groove into it a little bit.
Yeah, we have there also a lot of nepotism, and it's a sad story. But maybe we can cut that out. I remember that French girlfriend you once told me. Wasn't she somehow on a bus, something like that? You had some
That's a very
advertisement. It was
personal
really-
story.
Yeah. Okay, so let's leave that out. When people look at you, like when I met you first, you see your success and who you became. That's impressive at times, even almost intimidating. What do people not see about you? What part of your daily work would surprise a young orthodontist? What do you enjoy maybe less today than people think? I mean, they see Dirk Wiechmann, professor, successful, and so on. What do they not see?
I think my primary interest is to straighten teeth very well and to be good in this.
Yeah.
And I think the earlier you realize that you will never be somebody who is really good when you're a one-man player, but you have to work in a team. This is a very, very useful experience. And I was really, really lucky. Everybody I teamed up with when I was 25, when I was 35, 45, 55, it was a fantastic team with really, really motivated people, or motivated and motivating people being on my side, being together with me in the same team. So at the end of the day, it's maybe Wiechmann who's making the lecture, the new completely customized lingual bracket or whatever. Everything I show is a team approach. And I think this is what people mainly underestimate. It's not a one-man show. A one-man show does never bring anything extraordinary. You have to work together with a team. Just, for example, this morning, I was waking up at 5:15, taking my car, going to our partner and trimming bracket slots and to improving efficiency and precision of these cuts for labial brackets, by the way, no?
Yeah.
And so it is extremely rewarding when you wake up, you're spending 3 hours, and on the way back in the car, today we have made a step forward. This is a feeling which I really, really like, and I would not like to miss.
I know what many people I feel do not know about you, how social you are and what a good team player you are. When I got to know you maybe 20 years ago, at times I was a bit scared, but at the moment now I'm 50, I'm a bit more in my angry phase. It happens once a week that you calm me down and remind me to be a better team player. I like that, and I admire that you like to, or that your intention is to bring people together. I like that. Thanks for that.
I think it's very, very easy, because maybe, I don't know if this is a podcast just with the speech and not with the image. If the audience would see the image, they would certainly realize that I could easily be your father. And so I think I have a one generation more experience in life. So, and it's always much easier to give a little advice when you have learned. And learning is making bad experiences. Every bad experience has the potential to make you better. And then you share it with young people, and then sometimes they take the advice, sometimes not.
Maybe going a bit deeper in your thinking, what do you believe today? What do you believe in today that you have disagreed maybe 10 years ago? Or are you always in line? Like I'm changing perspective almost every 5 years. Is there something you disagree what you did professional wise, orthodontic wise, 10 years ago? Or did you always have a straight vision?
Let me think. I think it's difficult to say because when you're talking about 10 years ago, I would say you have to make decisions. Let's say it like this: you have to make decisions and right decisions concerning the circumstances you are in. And the decisions I made, let's say 20 years ago, I think if I would be 20 years back and don't know what the future brings, I would make the decision again, the same one. I wouldn't say it was a mistake. Today, I think if I make decisions different, it's just there are different circumstances and different possibilities. No, they're completely different possibilities. And also, I would say orthodontists is changing, and this is what I would not have. I think that I would not have expected that just putting money in a medical discipline could change this medical discipline so dramatically. And we see this, I would say, with the aligner companies, which have the pockets deep full of money now. Because, before when you were buying an appliance, fixed appliance, for example, you're buying 28 brackets, you're buying 10 arch wires. How much does this cost? Depending the series you buy, it's from 100 to 500 euros. And today, when you're buying an aligner case, like more than 1,000 or even more than 2,000, the industry is making much more money with this product. I would not have thought that a product which, to my mind, is mainly delivering compromised results and never going for extremely high quality could change the orthodontic market, at least in some countries, but important countries like the United States, so massively. This I would have thought is completely impossible because we are in the medical discipline, but that's the way it is. It's what you have to accept when you go through the world with open eyes, no?
This comes immediately to my next question. I had such a frustrating moment this week with Gothenburg, the university I'm related to, do a few studies about predictability and accuracy. So we got cases from Invisalign, and it was close to impossible to superimpose them. And what we found out, actually, maybe I'm stupid or naive, but what we found out, the whole gingiva, everything around the teeth, the palate, everything is just made up. It's not real. So teeth are moved into air. The clinician has no chance to think about biological limits and so on. I was really for 1 hour speechless. And all the rules we had from Dirk and so on, superimposition, you cannot do because it's all made up. But now my question. Where do you think orthodontics is lying to itself? Where are we lying to ourselves?
I would not say that we are all lying to ourselves. I would say there are some colleagues, there are some trends which have different goals. When you are an orthodontist, and I think the goal of everybody should be because, in my last course, I said there was one slide about ideal occlusion or ideal result, optimum. What is a good result? This is a very, very good question. What is a good result? And everybody defines a good result a little bit better. Everybody comes from a different background. But we all have some kind of a similar education about occlusion, no? And to me, a good result is, and I would like to go for every of my patients to this result, is the result I want to see on my son, on my daughter, on my sister, on my mother, and on my father. So the result you to deliver to your quality, to your family, I think to define this, you put in everything you know, and then you are not so far away from the 6 keys. And then you ask yourself, which appliance do you have to choose to achieve? And when you know that with aligners, I think you mentioned like the results were poor. I don't know, are they already over 50% or are they all or still under 50%? I don't know. For in patients which are wearing their appliances very well. And there wasn't, maybe we can come back to this after. There was an excellent publication in the American Journal from a German guy called Dr. Sabak, and from Munich. It was about the wearing time of aligners, of aligner patients, and it was super. And do you know this? Did you read the article?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Is it an interesting topic for? Because I think that
Do it.
the study is fantastic. What he did is he had 20 patients who were wearing an aligner treatment with a sensor, and 20 patients which did not have the sensor. The 20 had this. No. Everybody had a sensor. And 20 patients knew they had one, and the other 20 patients did not know that. So he could precisely record the wear time of the appliance. And what he found out that the patients which were knowing that they had the sensor were wearing the appliance, I think, 2 hours more in average per day. Still, both groups were wearing the aligners much less than recommended, 22 hours. Patients which did not know they had a sensor, they were about 11 or 12 hours, and the others were about 15 or 16 or 17. These are the primary data. I think it's very good because Dr. Sabak has delivered primary data about compliance in aligner treatment. When I read these numbers, I sometimes read it a bit different. What I would read from this article there have been 43 patients and 3 dropouts, which is nearly 10%. So 10% of the patient was out already, okay? The first 10% you can take out. You can see that the observation time was, I think, with a distance of 2 months, which is 12 months, which is then 3 months into 12 weeks, sorry, which is then 3 months in total. So, and in this 3 months, in both groups, you could see that the compliance is getting worse. So already after the compliance at the beginning was the best, it's getting a little bit less good. In both groups, it was not sufficient. So imagine after 3 months, it's getting worse. How is it after 6 months? How is it for patients where you are planning 40 aligners, no? How is the compliance in these patients? And this is, I think, then you know what you can expect when you're doing a treatment like. Even more interesting is, then you have to put the case which you see from the world-class speaker about aligners. The one case or the 2 cases he's showing in his presentation, you can put it in the right box. And this box has the name, the 1 in a million case.
Absolutely. I was impressed when you gave that lecture at the CEDO, I think 2022, about the 1 in a million case and the 1 in a million data. It was touching to me also what happens to us. Most lecturers, there was recently a paper, just 14% selected best cases, which is for me cheating and lying. I think about myself frequently when yesterday I had a row of really horrible cases of mine, and I need to get more and more and more honest. We have to be honest. That's important. But let's go a bit more to Dirk Wiechmann again. What do you love outside orthodontics? What gives you energy and what also scares you a bit?
Oh, outside of orthodontics, I think what is very important for me is certainly my family, is my children. And so I'm very happy that my son has chosen dentistry now, and he's in the
Cool.
in the dental education. For my daughter, it's not really clear, but she's much younger. And beside that, I must say I'm what I like to do is straightening teeth and talk about. So publishing study, you can say it's working. It's also working. But when I look back, I think I told it to my friend, and they said this. They think the same. It's my friend Sven who told me you seem to me a little bit like a DJ. When you make a course, you do exactly what you like, and everybody's giving you money and it's completely unfair, because when I'm working, I would like to do other things. I can assure you, when I'm doing what I'm doing, I do it because I love it and I like it. And even if tomorrow nobody would give me anything for what I do, I would still not do anything else. So
I
I
agree.
really love my job. My job is to a very big part one of my hobbies. Otherwise, I like to go in summer holiday. I don't like to ski so much because I think it's dangerous, and I like to dive. I love to dive. And when you dive, you're for yourself. You look at the little fishes,
Mhm.
and everybody's friendly underwater. Even if you see a shark just coming and looking, and then he's leaving, hopefully, no. But it's a very quiet and silent place. It's for me, it's super relaxing. So maybe it's exactly what I need sometimes.
And is there anything which you are scared of? Like I'm scared of height. You know, if you put me like 2 meters above the ground, I'm somehow scared about
Yeah, me
heights. I'm
too.
not scared about spiders or the night, but I'm scared about height. And
Yeah.
I'm at times scared about that something happens to my family. Or is there anything which scares you?
So when I'm in an escalator out of glass and I go up for example, in the Burj Al Arab, it's like this when you go up. I was there once in a restaurant. I said, can I not take the stairs because the escalator has only glass and I will be in the 50th floor. I will look out. I will not feel good. And they said, no, it's too long with the stairs. So I was turning away from the window and looking at the wall. So this is a bit the same. And I'm really scared about, I must say, is how our society is moving apart from each
Yeah.
other. We have a lot of problems, obviously, which are not really discussed when you look at and I rather look television. I try to avoid to look television and to hear news. Sometimes when you're seeing a football match, in the break there is there is a news session, and
Yeah.
then you get something. And I think we should focus on the problems we have. Uh, and the problems has nothing to do with gendering or with whatever discriminating people which don't look like you. I think particularly in Germany, this is really the exception. If somebody is discriminating somebody voluntarily, uh,
Mm.
he's not somebody anybody wants to talk to. He will be stand alone anyway, and the society will look for that. But I think we have other problems. And to my mind, the biggest problem is I think we have a part in our society moving to one side and the other part is moving to the other side, although we all know only
Yeah.
in a team, only together we can solve all the problems we have in front of us. And
I
this is making me sad. And
So let's sum up that part with one thing. Tell us something almost nobody knows about you. Like your second name is Dieter or Detlef, or you to calm down, you are knighting, or is there anything which would surprise people? Just it can be something funny, or you are a vegetarian, or I don't know, anything which is maybe a bit surprising about yourself.
yeah, maybe what is surprising, I'm a completely normal guy from the countryside,
Yeah.
completely boring, nothing special. The only thing which I might be able to do, which not every orthodontist is able to do, is to straighten teeth with brackets which are fixed on the other side. But beside that, I really like to be a boy from the countryside because
Hmm.
it is an easier life. It's not so stressful. I have been living for a while in Paris or in Rouen in France, in bigger cities, and it's always when I go to big cities. For example, when I was in Hong Kong, I was after 1 week, I was always really happy to come back to Bad Essen in Germany. And maybe that's surprising because I'm sure that if I don't know, if I open an office in a big city, the office would also boom with the skills we have in lingual orthodontics and so on. But this is something which would not excite me at all. I like children which are living in the neighborhood and they're
Yeah.
wearing their activator, and I like to go to the bakery here in Bad Essen. And I know that when I go behind and I go in the bakery where they make the bread, I see my friend and I was playing tennis with him. If I have a
Yeah.
problem with my bicycle, I go to my friend who was in the football team with me. So he will always take my bicycle. And if I have a problem like this morning in my office, we had a problem with electricity, I call my friend from school. And I really like these little normal things and they are very important for me.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same. This is why I'm here in the village. I feel even protected. That it protects me, and I enjoy it. Before we come to the final round, the quick fire round, we do a bit about the message to the younger generation. You raised a lot of us. I mean, you inspired thousands of young orthodontists, and I think me and so many would not have gone in that direction without you. But first of all, what would you tell your younger self about building up a career in orthodontics?
I think at the end of the day, to become a good orthodontist, you have to be a good clinician. So I would always suggest the place which is educating you, where you can treat a lot of patients. As one of the very famous German head coaches of the national team, which even won the World Cup in '54, said, Fußball ist auf dem Platz, which means when you play football on the playground. You can have a lot of theory around it, but it's finally you have to deliver on the grass. And I think with orthodontics is the same. You have to deliver in the mouth of a patient. It doesn't matter if you have understood the Burston, if you have understood where the center of rotation and what the difference between the center of the rotation and the center of resistance is. You have to straighten teeth in the mouth of the patient. An extra asset, an extra capability, because a lot of people have understood it theoretically, then to bring it in real life, they struggle. And this is very easy when you treat patients and somebody's showing you how to rebond the bracket, somebody's showing you how to debond the bracket with the least pain for the patient. No, I think to be clinically very skillful is very important.
Yeah, I see it exactly the same. You know, this is why I like cycling. I'm not such a team sports. I like to be on the bike and express a certain amount of power. And in sports, you know, when I did triathlon and cycling, the one with the most power won. There was no discussion. There's someone is number 1 and someone is number 85. And I'm still a bit shocked at some conferences. A lot of blah blah, a lot of talk and excuses, and nobody really brings it on the field in the mouth and shows it like in older days and put plaster on the table. And I love that spirit. I have it from you, and it's lacking a bit in our days. I would love that this comes back. The last round, quick fire round, because we do that with everyone. Coffee or wine?
Coffee.
Analog or digital?
Analog.
Okay.
But you see, I had to reflect a bit. Maybe if you ask me the same question in 5 years, it's digital.
First thing in the morning.
Coffee.
Biggest mistake.
Oh. Too impatient and too undiplomatic. I am not diplomatic at all.
That was honest and fair. Books that stayed with you. A book that stayed with you.
Sorry?
A book which that stayed with you. You remember all your life. A book you have read.
I read when I was at school. It was A Brave New World from Aldous Huxley.
Okay.
It's about making a society happy and giving everybody the explication why he's not a triple alpha or why he's not a loser. And this was a super, super interesting book.
One word that describes your life right now at this moment.
Passion.
Okay. Patient. Wow, patient. And now the ending. If someone listens to this in 10 years, what is the one thing you hope they take with them?
Maybe the most important, you can only evaluate the situation where you're in and make plans for the future. You are looking at the circumstances of today, of March 2026. When you see this in 10 years, maybe you will say, okay, he was right here, he was right there, but there were 2 other points which he was not right. And that's okay. I think you must accept you will make mistakes, and I think that's very important. Maybe that's a good final thing. Every mistake has at least one advantage, because you will learn from these mistakes and you will become better.
Yeah.
You must not neglect your mistakes or talk them into a good thing. A mistake is a mistake. There is always an opportunity to become better when you learn from your mistakes. I think that has been my philosophy, particularly when you're making appliances. You cannot imagine how many things we did which we would never do again because we have learned out of it. And I think it's a good advice in every aspect of life. Learn from your mistakes. You will make plenty of it. Not every mistake is nice. Then you have to excuse yourself. and say honestly, not only like a word, because I think that young people, they also always say, I'm sorry. Are they really sorry? I think a mistake is not generally a bad thing. It's an opportunity to better than tomorrow.
Yeah, I like that message. It fits also to my life. It helps me now that you say it depends on the circumstances. That's professionally so important. You have a busy waiting room in the afternoon, and I should bend in and talk, but you don't do because phone calls and everything. But it should not be an excuse, and you should work on your hours. So thanks for having the time, and most important to me. So that was the first podcast. And I hope people will enjoy. And thank you, Dirk.